It's Wednesday, August 5th, and we're in the living room. This is our playroom. I'm going to try my best not to pan out and show the disaster. This is a south-facing window. It gets excellent light. And today I want to show you my carnivorous plants. So this, I'll take it all the way back to the beginning. I've been trying to grow carnivorous plants for probably 2 decades and have always just killed them at various rates. And this spring in March, when I went to the flower show with Marty and Ralph and Kathy, one of the vendors had this beautiful Nepenthes, and I'll show you an inset of how tiny it was when I got it. So I decided to try it again, and yeah, I did start by slowly killing that. And when it was on absolute death's door, I made some drastic changes. I cut all of the dying pitchers off the dead one. I moved it to a different substrate or potting mix. So this is 50% long fiber sphagnum moss, 50% I can't remember if it's perlite or vermiculite, but just pretty much no nutrition, no actual soil. And I moved it to this self-watering pot from Vigo that actually came when we bought the greenhouse. So yeah, I did that, and the plant was like the leaf node that sprouted after that was here. So this plant was not that tall when I did this, the big change, but it continued growing. It sent off this new leaf, and Nepenthes are really weird. It's like the end of the leaf, you get this bit of stem that comes around and attaches to this beautiful pitcher. And the pitcher has some like digestive juices the plant secretes in there. And this one I actually put a, I pulverized one of the mealworms for the chickens and dropped it into that one. But each leaf, since doing that big change, the plant grew and it sent off this leaf. And then this leaf, which has another pitcher. And this leaf, which has another pitcher. And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4 more leaves and pitchers on the way. Yeah, so this, believe it or not, will turn into this. And it didn't take that long. So I'm going to try and see if I can catch the light here to show you the water level. Or it's not water. There you go, the liquid level inside these. So the plant makes this juice, and it uses that to digest any wayward insects that fall into the pitcher. The sides, the interior of these, there's like some kind of smooth wax so that any insects that land in there actually can't grab, so they just go tumbling down and fall into the pitcher, into the digestive juices. So this is a Nepenthes. I don't know what variety it is. And I was just so pleased with being able to not only not kill it, but I'd say this is thriving now. I got in my head that I needed to get more carnivorous plants, so here we are now. These have been in our house for probably 2 or 3 weeks now. And it's a mix of other varieties. So this is another Nepenthes. The variety is Gaya. There's a tiny little pitcher here. It's a terrible noise. This is a pitcher that was on the plant when it arrived, and I proceeded to crush it. When you transplant these plants, they take it really hard. So I was not expecting many of these pitchers to survive, but I think this is a new one, so it seems to be happy. And, oh, there's a little gnat on the lip of the pitcher. Hopefully it goes in. Please go in. All right, well, We don't have to do the David Attenborough routine of just waiting for this. Okay. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 varieties of Nepenthes. They all have various sizes and patterns of the pictures that are on them. We also have butterwort, and I don't know hardly anything about this. I bought like a beginner carnivorous plant trio, and this was part of it. This is a sundew. So the beautiful little hairs on the plant there secrete, I think it's called an exudate, which is attractive to bugs. So once they land there, it's real sticky. And the exudate also has digestive properties. So once the creature is trapped, it's a goner, and the plant digests it kind of like right out in the open. This is, everyone knows what this is, I think. It's a Venus flytrap. These are, I'm pretty sure the rest of these are native to the tropics, but Venus flytraps are native to North and South Carolina. And so this guy should actually be outside, but it makes me so nervous to put it outside. And you're supposed to, believe it or not, leave it outside in the winter, which is insane to me. So this type of plant, this is more of a, I would say, active predator of the carnivorous plants we have here, because it it physically does something instead of just existing in a way where insects fall prey to it. And I'm gonna try, just to point with a paintbrush. So inside the trap here, there's tiny little hairs, and the trap will close once at least 2 are triggered. So just kind of a failsafe for the plant to not spend all the energy to close itself around prey if there's actually nothing there. And once it closes, again, it's the same story as the rest of these. It's got some fancy secretions that digest the insect and make those nutrients available to the plant. Something that I'm pretty sure contributed to me killing all the previous specimens I had here was I was using tap water to water them. These all get actually distilled water, because the areas where they're native, there is no nutrients in the soil or the water that they have access to. They get the carbon for their growth from photosynthesis, so they've got to have full sunlight, which they're able to get in this window. And the other elements that they need for growth come from the insects that they digest. So the N, P, and K of like the garden fertilizer all comes from insects. So they don't need to be fed a steady diet of insects, but it does help them. And you can't really overdo it, because it's costs a lot of energy for, like in the case of the fly trap, to close the trap around the insect. But like all this liquid in there that they have to manufacture, there's an energy cost to that. So you don't want to overdo it. Yeah, and you may have noticed there's Legos here. So this is the, I just didn't want the pictures that were there when they arrived to rot on the wet sphagnum, so I tried to prop them up a little bit. I don't know if that's essential, but that's what we're doing. Also, this Nepenthes is so happy. It has sent up what's called a basal shoot. And boy, is this going to be difficult to visualize with all this stuff in the way here. So, sorry, plant. So this is a little growth node that in this case is below the soil level that has started growing an extra plant. And you can see here is a leaf that came from this basal shoot, and on the end of it is a tiny, come on, focus please. Oh my gosh, this is like the worst photography I think I've done to date. A tiny, tiny little pitcher, and this one hasn't opened yet. So one thing you can do with these, and I'm going to be really brave and give it a try, is trim the basal shoot from where it meets your main plant and repot it, and then you get 2 plants. Ooh, we'll see. And I can't see any obvious examples of growth nodes elsewhere on the... Actually, here we go. This, believe it or not, this little node here is a growth node. It's full of stem cells, and all the Nepenthes videos I've watched so far, people seem to say, oh, the growth node activates. And somewhere below the soil for this plant, one of the growth nodes activated, and now that's why we have a whole nother plant down there. So I've got some pruning shears that are brand new, so I'm not even going to bother sterilizing them. And I'm going to gently snip that and move it into a prepared self-watering pot. So I'm going to get that ready. So I've got the mix of the vermiculite and long fiber sphagnum moss. I added a bunch of water to pre-moisten it because you will absolutely shock these if you try to put them into dry potting mix. Where we're headed is a tiny little self-watering pot. I know there's other ways that you can do this, but because I had such success with this one in a self-watering pot, I'm terrified of breaking the habit and not using self-watering pots. So all of these kind of have the same principle as this one. It's 2 cups. The interior cup either has some sort of wick, like this one has, and I think this size also has a wick on the bottom. Yeah, it's inside those black knobs that sit down that lead up into the soil. All right. Yeah, the interior of these two is very similar. Like that little like Lego stud that was hanging down is hollow, and you stuff like your substrate down into that, and that itself acts as a wick, and it flows up through the rest of the pot. So this one's same idea, but it just uses this cotton thread. So I'm gonna put our mix in here. This is like growing regular houseplants. This is a ridiculous looking mix because there's nothing to it. There's no dirt. It's just drainage and more drainage. Okay, I am not going to be able to do this with one hand and film. So I'm going to make the cut and then start filming because I really don't want to mess up the cut. So I'll be right back. I lied. Not right back. I'm going to excavate around the bottom, show you that, and then I'll make the cut. And even though it's broad daylight in here, I'm going to add some extra light to the situation to make sure I'm not messing this up. Okay, you do have to ensure that you're always doing this in the living room or in an interior of the home location where you can maximize the amount of mess you can make. So I've done some excavation, and I can see where the plant meets the stem. Oh, wow. Each time I try to do this, it is a brand new low for focusing. I should get a tripod. So I've done my excavating. This is the main plant up top that you can see coming down. And then if we look closely, this little area here is where it connects to the parental plant. So you're just gonna have to assume I did this correctly off camera. 1 second. Oof, that was terrifying. Okay, so we have this beautiful little Nepenthes basal shoot. Right now it has 3 pitchers on it. So we're gonna pot it put it into our prepared thing. Get the, I don't know what else to do here. Just kind of jam it in. I'm going to baby this with some extra moisture while the roots get established. I've seen two strategies for this. One is you do it like I just did it and cut the basal shoot and have that generate its own root system, which has some whatever failure rate. Or you can cut the parent plant off of its own root system and then move that to a new pot so that the little tiny basal shoot has the benefit of growing with the already established root system of the parent plant. So I think that's as good as we're gonna get on this. And I will add some water to this thing, make sure it's wicking. One hand operation with a gallon of water. All right, that's what we're gonna call that. That's probably too much, actually. Here. All right. So nice soggy wicks. There we go. So hopefully this works. And I'm gonna put a plastic bag over this for a couple. Well, I say days. It's probably gonna be weeks to increase the humidity in hopes that I can get the roots to take here. So yeah, we'll check back in. Yeah, if you were hoping to avoid carnivorous plant content, this maybe isn't the channel for you anymore. All right.